Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you love diving into true crime stories that uncover the shocking realities behind some of the most heartbreaking cases, you're in the right place. Today, we're exploring another devastating case that will leave you questioning the very nature of trust and betrayal. And hey, if you're new here or haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It's the best way to support the channel and never miss a new story. Let's get started. She was young, brilliant, and destined for greatness. But behind Emma Sullivan's radiant smile and record-breaking achievements was a secret so devastating it would ultimately lead to her untimely death. This is not just a story of ambition and triumph. It is a tale of betrayal, obsession, and a chilling question. Who can you trust when your greatest supporter becomes your greatest threat? For Emma Sullivan, the track wasn't just a passion, it was her escape. Every stride, every finish line was a reminder of how far she had come from her humble beginnings. A small-town girl with a relentless drive, Emma had the world at her feet. But behind the accolades and the spotlight was a secret that would unravel in the most tragic and shocking way imaginable. A secret that left a trail of heartbreak and questions that only the darkest truths could answer. Emma Sullivan was the kind of athlete who turned heads everywhere she went. By the age of 22, she was a national sensation, her name synonymous with triumph and determination. Reporters loved her humility, fans admired her skill, and her competitors feared her discipline. Her face graced the covers of magazines, and her name was whispered in conversations about future Olympic greatness. But the people closest to Emma knew she wasn't just running for medals. Running was her sanctuary. It was where she could silence the doubts and the expectations that had been weighing on her shoulders since childhood. It was where she could truly be free, or so it seemed. Her success wasn't achieved alone. Standing in the background, often just out of the camera's frame, was Daniel Cross, a former athlete whose career was cut short by injury. Daniel had reinvented himself as one of the most sought-after trainers in the sport. Known for his ability to push his athletes to their limits, Daniel's methods were tough, but his results were undeniable. To Emma, he was more than a coach. He was a mentor, a confidant, and eventually something much more complicated. What began as a partnership built on ambition and trust would end in betrayal, leaving investigators to piece together a chilling truth. A truth that would shock those who thought they knew her story. Emma Sullivan's story began in a modest Midwestern town, where life was anything but easy. Born to parents whose relationship was riddled with conflict, Emma often found herself retreating to the outdoors to escape the turmoil at home. She discovered running at the age of 10, and it quickly became her haven. On the track, the chaos of her world faded away, replaced by the rhythmic sound of her feet hitting the ground. Her childhood wasn't devoid of hardship. Financial struggles meant that Emma often had to make do with hand-me-downs and limited resources. But it was in these moments that her determination was forged. Teachers described her as fiercely driven, a young girl who wouldn't take no for an answer. By the time she reached high school, her talent was undeniable. Emma's life changed forever during a local track meet in her sophomore year of high school. Scouts from a prestigious university spotted her raw talent, and within weeks, she was inundated with scholarship offers. By her senior year, she was the state champion in multiple events, setting records that hadn't been touched in decades. College brought Emma into the national spotlight. Competing at elite levels, she quickly became a household name. Sponsors lined up, eager to make her the face of their brands, and the media couldn't get enough of her inspirational story. But with fame came pressure. The weight of expectations from her fans, her family, and even herself began to take its toll. It was during this time that Emma met Daniel Cross. He was unlike any coach she had worked with before. His reputation preceded him, and his methods were unconventional. For Emma, who was desperate to maintain her edge, Daniel seemed like the answer to her prayers. But their relationship soon went beyond the professional. Daniel Cross's journey into the world of athletics began with promise. As a young man, he was a rising star in track and field, competing at national levels and eyeing an Olympic bid. But a devastating knee injury ended his career prematurely. The abrupt end to his dreams left Daniel bitter and aimless for years. Eventually, he found a second chance in coaching. Combining his first-hand experience with a deep understanding of the sport, Daniel quickly became a sought-after trainer. His athletes often described him as intense but effective, someone who demanded absolute commitment and delivered results in return. Behind his professional success, Daniel's personal life was falling apart. His marriage, already strained by years of neglect, came to a bitter end when his wife filed for divorce. The separation left Daniel embittered and lonely, his life revolving entirely around his work. When Emma entered his life, her admiration for him rekindled a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. But as their relationship deepened, it became clear that Daniel's admiration for Emma was more than professional. This story unfolds in the high-stakes world of elite athletics, where every moment is meticulously planned and success is measured in milliseconds. Training camps were often grueling, isolating athletes from their families and friends, leaving them to depend on their coaches for both guidance and support. For Emma and Daniel, this environment became a pressure cooker, magnifying both their ambitions and their vulnerabilities. To the outside world, Emma's life was a dream come true. But behind closed doors, the pressures of her career and her relationship with Daniel painted a far more complicated picture. It was a world where appearances were everything, and sacrifices were inevitable. And for Emma Sullivan, those sacrifices would prove to be fatal. As Emma Sullivan's career soared, so too did the complexity of her relationship with Daniel Cross. What began as professional admiration and mentorship soon evolved into a secret relationship, hidden from the eyes of her teammates, family, and the public. At first, their bond felt like a refuge to Emma. Daniel understood her struggles in ways others couldn't. He provided encouragement, direction, and what seemed like unconditional support. But over time, Emma began to notice changes in Daniel's behavior. Daniel's attention, once comforting, became suffocating. He started monitoring her social life, questioning her every decision. Friendships that Emma cherished began to fade, as Daniel subtly, yet effectively, isolated her. He would frame his controlling tendencies as acts of care, questioning her late-night calls with friends, discouraging outings that could distract her from her goals. Emma, who had always been fiercely independent, found herself trapped in a dynamic she couldn't quite define. During a particularly intense training season for an upcoming championship, Emma met Liam Hayes, a fellow athlete whose demeanor was a stark contrast to Daniel's. Where Daniel's intensity was overwhelming, Liam offered lightheartedness and understanding. Liam Hayes grew up in a tightly knit family in the suburbs of Boston. The youngest of 3 siblings, Liam was introduced to sports at an early age by his father, a retired college football coach. Unlike Emma, whose career was born out of hardship, Liam's path to athletics was paved with encouragement and stability. He excelled in soccer and baseball before discovering his talent for middle-distance running in high school. Though naturally gifted, Liam was known less for his speed and more for his sportsmanship. Teachers and coaches frequently described him as dependable, compassionate, and unflinchingly optimistic. He approached competition with a sense of camaraderie rather than rivalry, earning him a loyal group of friends both on and off the track. Liam's rise to collegiate athletics was marked by steady progress rather than meteoric success. While he was never the fastest on the team, his consistency and leadership made him a cornerstone of the squad. Balancing rigorous training with a major in sports psychology, Liam envisioned a future where he could help others navigate the mental challenges of competitive sports. Emma and Liam first crossed paths during a university-hosted track event. While their interactions were brief at first, exchange of pleasantries during warm-ups or congratulatory words after races, there was an unspoken mutual respect between them. Liam admired Emma's intensity, while Emma found Liam's calm demeanor refreshing in the high-pressure world they both inhabited. As Emma's relationship with Daniel became increasingly fraught, her conversations with Liam grew more frequent. What started as casual discussions about training evolved into meaningful exchanges about life, goals, and the challenges of their sport. Liam's non-judgmental presence offered Emma a sense of stability she hadn't felt in months. Liam's role in Emma's life remained strictly platonic, but it was clear that their bond unsettled Daniel. During team outings or group training sessions, Daniel's irritation was evident whenever he saw Emma laughing or speaking with Liam. For Emma, Liam represented everything Daniel was not: kind, patient, and unburdened by control. Unaware of the full extent of Emma's struggles, Liam encouraged her to take time for herself, to step back and evaluate what truly mattered to her. His words stayed with her, becoming a silent reminder of the life she wanted beyond the track and away from Daniel's overbearing influence. Their conversations started innocently. Discussions about training, shared struggles in the competitive world of sports, but soon Emma found herself drawn to Liam's kindness. It didn't take long for Daniel to notice the growing friendship, and his reaction was anything but subtle. Tensions reached a boiling point when Emma tried to confront Daniel about the boundaries he had crossed. She wanted to end their personal relationship and focus solely on her career. But to Daniel, this was more than rejection. It was betrayal. The man who had once championed her potential now saw her independence as a threat. Their final argument, held late at night in the empty training facility, was heated, with Daniel accusing Emma of abandoning him after everything he had done for her. The confrontation ended with Emma walking away, determined to regain control of her life. The morning of Emma's most critical race, she didn't show up. Panic spread quickly among her team and family, who knew how uncharacteristic it was for Emma to miss an event. Calls went unanswered, and her dorm room showed no signs of where she might have gone. By nightfall, the worst fears were realized. Emma's body was discovered in a wooded area near the training facility. The scene was grim. Evidence of a violent struggle was apparent: scratches on her arms, signs of a blunt force injury, and scattered belongings that hinted at a desperate attempt to escape. Among the items found was a whistle, engraved with the initials DC, lying near her body. Investigators would later confirm it belonged to Daniel Cross. The news sent shockwaves through the athletic community and beyond. How could someone so full of promise meet such a tragic end? And more importantly, who was responsible? As the investigation began, all eyes turned to the man who had been closest to her in both life and death. Detective Maria Alvarez was no stranger to high-pressure cases, but Emma Sullivan's murder brought a unique level of scrutiny. With the media demanding answers and the public mourning the loss of a national star, Alvarez approached the case with unwavering determination. Known for her meticulous attention to detail and relentless pursuit of justice, Maria had built a reputation for solving even the most complex crimes. Yet, the weight of this investigation was unlike anything she had faced before. From the moment she arrived at the crime scene, Alvarez knew this was no ordinary murder. The brutality of the attack, combined with the high-profile victim, meant every move she made would be under a microscope. But for Maria, the noise of the outside world faded as she focused on what mattered most: bringing Emma's killer to justice. The first major lead came from witnesses who reported seeing Emma arguing with Daniel Cross shortly before her disappearance. The descriptions were consistent: a heated exchange, with Emma visibly upset as she stormed away. Yet when questioned, Daniel denied the argument had been anything more than a professional disagreement about training schedules. His calm demeanor during the initial interview raised suspicions, but he had an alibi that seemed airtight. He claimed to have been home alone, a statement his neighbors tentatively corroborated. Forensic evidence at the scene painted a clearer picture. DNA under Emma's fingernails suggested a struggle, and traces of soil on her clothing matched the wooded area near the training facility. Most damning was the discovery of the whistle engraved with Daniel's initials, found near her body. Despite these findings, the case was far from straightforward. Liam Hayes, whose closeness with Emma had been well documented, quickly found himself under scrutiny. Investigators questioned whether his friendship with Emma could have been misinterpreted, leading to a jealous confrontation. However, Liam's cooperation and verifiable alibi, he had been at a team dinner on the night of Emma's disappearance, ultimately cleared him of suspicion. The investigation seemed to stall until Alvarez's team uncovered a crucial piece of evidence: surveillance footage from a nearby highway. The grainy video showed a car matching the description of Daniel's vehicle near the wooded area where Emma's body was found. This discovery, coupled with a series of text messages retrieved from Emma's phone, painted a disturbing picture of Daniel's behavior in the weeks leading up to her death. The text messages revealed a side of Daniel that few had seen. What began as supportive and encouraging notes gradually became obsessive and controlling. Phrases like, "You owe me everything, and if I can't have you, no one will," were chilling in hindsight, providing a glimpse into the unraveling mind of a man who felt his world slipping away. Confronted with the mounting evidence, Daniel's once steady facade began to crack. During a second round of questioning, Alvarez pressed him on inconsistencies in his alibi. His responses grew defensive, and when presented with the surveillance footage, he faltered. It was a final, damning detail that sealed his fate: a piece of Emma's jewelry, a necklace she was rarely seen without, found tucked in the glove compartment of Daniel's car. The combination of forensic evidence, witness accounts, and Daniel's escalating behavior left no doubt in Alvarez's mind. Daniel Cross was arrested and charged with Emma Sullivan's murder. For Detective Maria Alvarez, the arrest marked the end of a harrowing investigation, but the beginning of a broader reckoning about the pressures and power dynamics that had led to such a tragedy. As investigators delved deeper into the case, it became clear that Daniel Cross's motives went beyond personal obsession. Financial records uncovered during the investigation revealed a shocking discovery. Daniel had been embezzling funds from Emma's sponsorship deals. Over the course of several years, he had siphoned money into a personal account, using her success to fund a lavish lifestyle hidden from public view. Emma, always meticulous about her finances, had recently begun asking questions. Investigators found emails between Emma and her sponsors, where she expressed concerns about discrepancies in her payments. Daniel, knowing that his deception was on the brink of exposure, grew increasingly desperate. He feared that Emma's revelations would not only end his career, but ruin him completely. When Emma confronted him on the night of her murder, the argument took a deadly turn. Daniel's confession painted a chilling picture. In a fit of rage and panic, he struck Emma, silencing her before she could destroy everything he had built. But in doing so, he sealed his own fate. Faced with the overwhelming evidence and Detective Alvarez's relentless questioning, Daniel finally broke. His calm demeanor crumbled as he admitted to killing Emma. His confession was chilling in its detail. He described the argument, the moment his anger boiled over, and the attempts he made to cover his tracks. For Alvarez, the confession was bittersweet. Justice for Emma meant exposing the full extent of Daniel's betrayal, not just to her, but to everyone who had trusted him. His fall from grace was as dramatic as his career had been celebrated, leaving a stain on the legacy of an athlete who had only ever sought to excel. Emma Sullivan's story became a national conversation about the pressures placed on young athletes. Her death highlighted the toxic environments that can develop in elite sports, where ambition and success often come at a personal cost. The relationship between Emma and Daniel raised serious questions about power dynamics and the responsibility of coaches to act in their athletes' best interests. What happens when that trust is abused? How do we protect vulnerable individuals from manipulation? Finally, the case brought attention to the lengths people will go to protect their secrets. For Daniel, The fear of exposure was greater than the respect he owed to Emma as both an athlete and a person. His actions served as a stark reminder of the destructive power of unchecked ambition. Emma Sullivan was poised to change the world, not just through her victories on the track, but through her determination to inspire others. Instead, she became a haunting reminder of what happens when trust is broken and ambition turns deadly. Her legacy now lies in the lessons learned from her tragic story, ensuring that no other athlete suffers the same fate. Thank you for watching today's story. What do you think? Could Emma's death have been prevented? Or was she betrayed by the very system meant to support her? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more true crime stories like this. Together, we can shine a light on the stories that demand to be told.